Hey there, I'm Joshua Sheehan. Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast. The RV Entrepreneur is a community for RVers that are exploring ways to financially support themselves while living their RV life. And today we have the pleasure of talking with Brooke Happe. Brooke is a goal-oriented career gal and a lifelong planner who chose to go seriously off script and has never looked back. Her big life change has taught her that life comes in ever-changing seasons and she is determined to fully enjoy each one. Brooke owns b.e.happe, a small batch, handcrafted, and small business-sourced accessory and apparel company that gives back to children's hospitals. She's a full-time RVer, and with b.e.happe, she wants to document and support her own family's once-in-a-lifetime adventure, give back to causes dear to her heart, and help other people feel brave enough to take their next step towards being happy, whatever that step may be. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this conversation with Brooke. It's a cool progression of how she took something that she made for herself, these knit hats that she's famous for, and it morphed into a side hustle, and then it morphed into a full-time business, and now it morphed into a family business. She's got the kids involved in their full-time RVing, and it's turned into this lifestyle and apparel brand. I really enjoyed talking with Brooke. She's got a lot of entrepreneurial sense. The story and the progression of how she got to where she is today is really cool, and the projection and the places that they're going as a brand and a family are really cool as well. Before we get into the interview with Brooke, let's take care of our sponsor. The RV Entrepreneur Podcast is brought to you in part by RV Life Pro. Perfect for every RVer, you can plan your camping trips with RV Life Trip Wizard, then use the RV Safe navigation with the RV Life GPS and Campgrounds app. Both are included in RV Life Pro. Eliminate RV anxiety by knowing exactly where you'll camp, get fuel, and even grab lunch before you ever hit the road. RV Life has every campground, RV park, state park, and national park to fit your style. Plan your entire RV adventure, including fuel stops, rest areas, shopping, and entertainment. Go to rvlife.com and start your free 7-day trial, or download the RV Life app from the App Store. Travel dreams made simple with RV Life. Now let's jump into the interview with Brooke. Well, Brooke, welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm excited to talk with you today. We met in Florida at a RV content creator conference, I guess it was, but I could tell that you were around because I saw lots of people with your product bobbing around the campground. Give me a little bit of background of who Brooke is and what you're doing on the road.
My name is Brooke Happe. I own a handmade hat accessory brand and also a small business sourced apparel brand. I started it in 2016 when I was stepping away from my career as a doctor of physical therapy. My heart was just kind of calling me to be more present and enjoy the season of life with my young children. So I stepped away from my career, started to be a stay-at-home mom, and I really struggled with the transition of getting ready every day, having a very strict schedule as a medical professional, and then switching the gears to a stay-at-home mom. So I decided to teach myself to crochet. I'm a lifelong learner, and I did a lot of manual therapy as a physical therapist. So I thought, well, I'll return to the medical field once the kids are grown. So I want to learn something new to keep my hands strong. So I bought a crochet hook and some yarn at the store, and during that time I would Pinterest and YouTube how to crochet. And so I taught myself to crochet, and I struggled with the change of the season. And so I was looking for something to feel more put together and to kind of hide my dirty mom hair, not having time for myself. And so I crocheted a slouch hat, and that's kind of where b.e.happe started. Other moms started asking about, where can I get this hat? Where can I buy it? And I just was saying, I made it. I'll give you one or something. And I got a lot of encouragement to just open up an online shop and to sell locally. And so I started b.e.happe, and it's kind of grown from there. As we sold everything in 2019 to travel the U.S., it has developed into a little bit more of a lifestyle brand, and taking my passion for small businesses and supporting small businesses to do some branding with small business sourced accessories and apparel.
It's interesting to talk with folks, especially in the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, of how something that either was a passion project of theirs or they decided I need to find something to do as a creative outlet often then turns into something more. It sounds like that was very much the case for you. So what led to you guys getting into RVing? Were you RVers before you decided to go full-time?
We had a travel trailer, and so we were weekend warriors, I guess you could say. We were from Iowa, and so there's a very limited amount of time that you can camp, especially when you're kind of living in sticks and bricks. It's Monday through Friday, and then the weekends are it. And so we really enjoyed just being outside and not having to worry about all of the commitments when we were camping on the weekends. And so we didn't know anything about camping, and so we watched YouTube videos, and that's where we started to come across families who were full-timing. And our decision to sell our home and everything was definitely a multifaceted decision. And I brought up the idea back in 2018 to my husband after we saw, like I said, we saw families doing this and knew it was possible. And so we decided to, in December of 2018, take a 20-day, I think it was, trip down to Florida while our oldest son was on winter break. And we're like, if we're going to do this, let's kind of give it a test run. And so we took our travel trailer down to Florida, and I'll never forget when we crossed into Florida and my son saw the Welcome to Florida sign, his eyes lit up. Just that feeling when you see someone or when you do something new, I'll never forget that feeling. I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to give it a try, and we're going to sell everything and travel because I want that experience for our family. And so we ended up selling our home in June of 2019. So we took about 8 to 9 months to get everything logistically kind of set up. My husband traveled a lot during the week, and so he was gone pretty much Monday through Friday, and then was home on the weekends, which is why we like to kind of get out and get away from the busyness. And so we knew that he could continue to work as long as we were near an airport and he had good internet, and I could run b.e.happe from anywhere. So we thought, why not? Let's just take this leap of faith and see where it takes us.
At the point that you decided to get on the road, where would you say b.e.happe was? Was it still kind of at the, I'm going to do this when I have time, and then if I have extras, I'm going to post them up on my website? Or was it at that point, I'm going to start doing this with the intention of making it a brand and a business?
No, it was definitely a hobby or a side hustle. I would do, maybe 5 to 8 local events during kind of the fall and winter because I was solely just our handcrafted knit hats and slouch hats. So it was just a kind of a side hustle. I'd bring enough yarn to fit under the bed. And I did have a couple people working for us. We were picked up by a local department store in 2018. So that's where I kind of started to grow. But it is when we started to travel and people realized that running a product business on the road was possible, we really saw a lot of growth.
Talk to me about getting into a department store. How did that play out?
The department store was actually, in the end, was working to not go into bankruptcy. Now after the fact. But so they were trying to pull in the locally grown aspect of it. And so they were bringing in a section of the department store. They reached out to me after seeing me at a market. And we were in, I think, 23 different department stores kind of across the Midwest for about a year. And then the department store is no longer, but it was great exposure, especially, starting locally with a business and just kind of getting your name out there.
That's something cool to get into. And I'm sure that it was exciting at the time of, hey, we're going to be in 23 different stores and this is just a hobby.
Yes.
So I guess at that point, if you're going to be jumping into making enough hats to be putting out stock in multiple stores, how did you go about the process of taking something that was a hobby and you were giving hats to friends or even at craft shows and things to treating it more like a business? I'm sure you have to get some sort of labeling, possibly even tags or packaging. What was that process like?
Yeah, it took a lot of research, and I would say self-research, looking at U.S. product safety and compliance things. Like you said, certain between the child and the baby and the adult hat, everything requires a different type of label. And so that was one aspect that I had to really dive into. And it was pretty much just trying to find a community of people who have done it. And thankfully for the internet, there's a huge group in Facebook. And so you can kind of see what other people are doing and talking about. And then on the other aspect, it was, how do I grow something that I have solely made with my hands? The hat from me needs to look exactly the same as someone that is making it from my team. And so that aspect of growing a team was definitely an undertaking.
So how did you go about deciding how you were going to build a team? It's handmade products. There's a little bit different than just hiring a computer coder from overseas.
Yes, I started locally because people knew of my product. And so I went to my local church where we attended and reached out to a knitting group because they would make prayer shawls for people in the community. And so I knew that they would either be the person or know someone that would knit. And in that aspect, a lot of people do knit or crochet, but everyone's technique is different. The quality of work is different also. And so it was a little bit of trial and error to start with. I started with two ladies from the church knitting group, and we started with like a working interview. And so I would send them supplies, my pattern, and a sample, and they would work up 5 of the same hats, right? Can they replicate the same thing multiple times? And so I kind of started there and then went to a lawyer to say, well, how do I prevent someone from just joining my team and then running away with my pattern? Because it had taken me 3 years to create my own pattern. So it was definitely kind of a back and forth. And so now we have a team of 12 females from across the U.S. that help me make my product. And it's still an ever-changing process, I think, with how to logistically make everything work.
Has traveling in the RV played a part in how you've built your team? Are any of the folks fellow RVers, or how did you come about getting to 12 outside of the 2 that were in your hometown before you guys left?
Yeah, so after I had the 2 local females, then I started to really gain some traction on social media with people kind of knowing our story and seeing that you can kind of do different things from the road. And so I just randomly put out like a request on my stories and said, hey, I'm looking to grow my team, reach out to me. And so I just put like an application on my website and people started applying. And I kind of went through that process of figuring out what I need to ask in order to have someone join my team. And for me, I determined that submitting some pictures of previous work, you kind of know, like, the quality of it, based off of kind of some pictures. And so that's kind of the first clearance of yes or no. And then if their quality of work is great, then I, kind of continue on and send them like a working interview type thing with some products and samples. So I definitely used social media to kind of reach those people. And then as we continued to grow and people knew about our brand, I just had people reach out now. And I kind of keep like a running list of people who, when I need some more help, that I can kind of call, and everyone is different. They can have their own Etsy shop and they can have their own brand. Some of them help me on various different levels. I get hundreds of hats from some ladies, and then others kind of can just fill in the blanks. So it's a great option for a lot of different people.
What are some of the things you've learned throughout the process of interviewing candidates to help you? I ask this because knitting is very much a skill. You can take someone that's interested in a job and teach them how to use a machine to do something, whether it be sewing or otherwise. But when it's a handcrafted product, it's a little more tedious. One, because you, again, like you said, you're looking to replicate the quality of the things you were producing. But at the same time, I can imagine that being a delicate conversation, delicate balance, because if you're saying no to someone and it's because of a quality issue, you're basically saying, no, I don't care for your product. And so how do you balance that as a business owner of treading that water, of bringing on help that you need, but also not stepping on people's toes, but at the same time moving your brand forward?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm a total people pleaser. And so I literally, it's very difficult. And so I have just kind of come up with a verbiage and almost put on like a different persona to let them know, unfortunately, the quality of the item does not pass our inspection. I will definitely keep your information for future reference. And sometimes people will if they really want to do it, they'll come back and say, can I continue to practice with your pattern or something like that? I've had one person who has just continued to grow the skill and to improve and is now part of the team. So I do really try to make it work. And also, too, a lot of times I kind of like to hear their story. Why are they interested in it? Does it fit kind of our brand values, kind of going forward with that? The quality obviously is important, but I love to hear people's stories on how they learned this skill also.
What have been some challenges of running a product-based business on the road? And then the flip side of that, what are some of the things that maybe you didn't think about that have been benefits of running a product-based business on the road?
Some obstacles. Obviously, since the pandemic, I think the opportunities for running a business on the road have definitely expanded. But having a product-based business versus, let's say, a digital business where you don't have any physical products that you have to store definitely throws some curveballs at you. And I mean, let's be honest, living in an RV means not having much space. We're very limited in our space. And so I feel like the obstacles have actually helped my business, to kind of group the two questions together because of the lack of space, I've really had to hone in on what products sell. I've had to look at my numbers, look at the statistics and say, this color is working, this style is working, this and that are not. And so the obstacle of having a lack of space has actually propelled my business because I'm doing what's working. I'm not buying these colors of yarn or pom-poms because I love them just to fill the space in my previous bedroom office. I was getting low on yarn and, I should go buy this yarn color. That's cool. That's pretty. But I didn't know if it would sell. And so it just kind of sat there for a while. So now whatever I bring into the RV for supplies must be used and has to have a purpose or a plan for our product releases.
Are you sending supplies from your person to the people on your team, or is it stuff that you can send directly to them? How is it working to make sure that you have consistent base product in order to make your apparel?
Yeah, so it's taken some adjustments and kind of figuring out the logistics of the process. And so I've kind of come up with just a spreadsheet that I know how much yarn will output what hats. And so I most of the time will have the manufacturer directly ship the product to my team member. And then we just kind of communicate via Slack. And then they know what specific products need to be made. And then at the end of the deadline and when they are done, then they will send the product back to me. And then I directly ship everything to the customers because of the 12 females who are on my team, each one kind of makes something different. So if someone, let's say, purchases a Mommy and Me set, one might be made in West Virginia and the other one's made in Iowa. And so as a brand, I want to kind of have the experience of opening up the Mommy and Me set to be one experience versus kind of coming from two different spots.
I'm sure you've considered this. Has it ever crossed your mind to have all of the product based somewhere and then pay a 13th person to be the shipper, the packaging and shipper? What considerations have you made to consider that, and why have you chosen not to do it, at least at this point?
At this point, I think I still just want to kind of have a hand in the business with the quality and packaging it up, and also just to kind of show my kids, because they are, 11, 8, and 6, just part of the business. They see me knitting, but they help package and they help kind of decide on the colors and things like that. So I think the part of me that's not quite gotten rid of a central fulfillment or person to kind of streamline is the aspect of just having my kids involved still. But I am definitely approaching that, and had this discussion with one of the females who's been with me the longest, and she's very interested. And so we're slowly making the steps to do that.
So you said the kids are a part of packaging the orders. How often do they get to be involved with the business on a weekly basis?
Probably more than they prefer. um, no, I mean they really like the participation in it, and our give back aspect of the brand has changed over the years. So they do enjoy going and shopping for the items that we donate to the children's hospital. So they're involved in that aspect, but they love to kind of see the combinations that people send, because sometimes they do choose like the color combinations or the pom-poms, because a lot of these products that we sell are going to children or to their mom and child. And so I like to have their input on what they like, because what I like might be a little bit different than what they like. But we also incorporate the business aspect of, if I buy the yarn at this price, showing them profit and just the overall things in business between profit and loss and marking up items, those type of things that I think will bring them a long way in life, are very important for me to have them involved in.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's one of the benefits of being an RV entrepreneur with a family, is that you can have them be a part of as much as you want. And the opportunities for learning are boundless, both in traveling around the country and experiencing things, having the books come to life, but also, like you said, of this is how we deal with customer relations, this is how we source products, profit and loss. I think that's really cool that you're getting them involved and that they're growing up through that. You mentioned give back. Tell me a little bit about what you mean by product give back.
The whole idea of making the world a better place was definitely instilled in me since I was a little girl. And I always knew that I wanted to make a difference, which is why I think I chose the medical profession. You know, as a physical therapist, I could see the quality of life in my patients improve. And it was very just fulfilling to make an impact on someone. So when I was transitioning to the stay-at-home mom and started the hobby of crochet and knit, I would donate hats that I was making when I was learning this skill to Blank Children's Hospital in Des Moines, Iowa, where we were living at the time. And so I would just donate these little baby hats to the NICU every time that one of the hats fell on the ground, because the babies are so unstable, they had to give it to the parent and they couldn't put it back onto them. So, I mean, some of the babies are going through 10 to 20 hats depending on how much they're moving around and stuff during the day. So there was definitely a need for, someone to kind of give back in that way. Unfortunately, we continued to grow. So with b.e.happe, from 2016 to 2018, we did a buy one, give one. So for every hat that was purchased, I would donate one. I would make a hat and donate one to Blank Children's Hospital. And then we got picked up by the department store in 2018, and I couldn't keep up. So I knew that I wanted to continue the social good and the social give back. And so we made the decision, after kind of one of the scariest moments in our life, when our son was admitted to the PICU. He had a virus that went straight to his lungs, and so he spent 10 days in isolation in the PICU at the Children's Hospital. And not being able to leave a hospital room for 10 days with a 3-year-old is not pleasant, between treatments and the IV and everything. And child life specialists would come in and give him distraction items when he was getting breathing treatments and keep his mind off of things. And fortunately, our 2 other kids were able to visit. And so they would bring him puzzles and games and movies, and they would snuggle up on the hospital bed. And so I was talking to the child life specialist, and she said, all of these items are donated. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, we rely on donations for these items. And so I knew then that's where we can make an impact. We experienced it firsthand, how much joy it brought my children's lives in a very scary time. And I knew that that's where we could give back. So now we donate a portion of the proceeds from each purchase to wish list items. And so before the pandemic, we would, if we were in Kansas or something, or I did a show somewhere, we would donate to that children's hospital. We'd go shop, bring them in. But since the pandemic, we haven't been able to get into any hospitals. So we are using Amazon wish lists and just donating that way. And so it's a way for my kids to, kind of see the need, and they know the direct impact that it makes because they were on the receiving end of it.
That is a really cool story. sorry that you had to go through it, but I'm glad that you did because I think that, along with then sharing your story, is really cool. I would never have thought that those would have been donated items either. I would have thought that would have been a line item on the hospital's expense report, but fortunately, it sounds like that's not always the case. And it's really cool that you're being able to, one, do it for yourself, but then also continue to show your kids, like, hey, we're doing good things. We're providing this awesome product. In addition to that, we're also going to take a portion of that and we're going to do something good for someone else, and just keep putting out all that goodwill into the world is definitely needed, and good for you guys. That's really cool. So your last name is Happe. How long did it take
Mm-hmm.
you to come up with a brand name, b.e.happe? Was it pretty easy or did it take some time?
It was pretty easy. When I got married, I was in the middle of medical school. So I remember like signing my marriage license and it was like Brooke Happe. And I was like, if I ever do something in life that's totally outside of the medical profession, like my initials with my last name would be a perfect name. So that was kind of just like a light bulb moment that went off. And then when friends and family encouraged me to kind of just open up a shop and sell locally, I was like, well, I know what I'm going to do. And yeah, I mean, it didn't take much once I knew that I was going to open up a business.
Yeah. It is very serendipitous, and it's a great brand name, and it's double entendre of your personal name and then just b.e.happe and bringing happiness with cool hats. You've expanded from just knitting and crocheted hats to some other items, right?
Yes. Yes.
What are you it included, and how did you decide upon that, and then decide which way to go with it?
Yeah, it was when we started, it was just pretty much all things knit and crochet. I mean, we're talking knit bags, scarves, mittens, hats, anything that I could do. And like I said before, when we moved into the RV, I really had to figure out, okay, what's my special sauce? What am I going to sell and what is working? And so it was hats. And the hat that I originally made, the slouch hat, I made it for the everyday hat. It's warm, but it's also light enough that if I wanted to run and get coffee in the middle of summer, I'm going to throw it on so that no one sees how dirty my hair is. And then I can come back and get ready. So I wanted something that people could use all the time, something that was almost evergreen and would never go out of style, and people could kind of keep as like an heirloom product. So when I ended up kind of finalizing on the hats, I decided to make a summer product. And because small businesses are so important to me, I knew that if I expanded into more accessories or apparel, it would have to be small business sourced. So I went with the baseball caps to start with, and then I would periodically get a couple of t-shirts made for like some events, and people would ask to buy the t-shirts. They said, we love your story. We love the brand. Can I buy that t-shirt? And I was like, well, I just had a couple made. I am not selling them. And they said, well, if you come back next year, bring me a t-shirt and I'll buy one. And so that kind of sparked the just graphic apparel t-shirts that we kind of do during the summer. So it was a little bit of a push from what customers were asking for.
What does your whole product line now involve?
Knit, pom-pom hats, crochet slouch hats. We do baseball caps and then graphic t-shirts. So my future self and my goal would be to do almost like a evergreen apparel line with just some basics, almost a little boutique, but that'll probably be for the future.
And these are all revolving around either the knit or crocheted style hat, but then the baseball hats and t-shirts all have something to do with b.e.happe. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. The baseball caps and t-shirts are just with our brand on them.
Okay.
But they continue to give back also. So we still do, obviously the winter and crochet hats, it's very seasonal, right? And so I wanted to continue to be able to give back and to have that social good. So our summer products are kind of that way to continually help give back.
I would also imagine that tends to help in evening out revenue throughout the year. Have you seen that be the case?
Yes, it was definitely a double-sided, reasoning. Customers were asking, but yet also right now I just closed up the ordering for our retailers. So I think we'll be in 67 retail shops across the U.S. this coming fall. So right now my team and I are building product for the fall. And so the apparel and the baseball caps definitely help with buying all the yarn and offsetting costs throughout the year.
That's really cool that you're getting into stores this fall. I want to get back to that, but I had a previous question that I would like to ask. You mentioned small business, sourcing small business is important. How difficult was it to find baseball caps and t-shirts that go as small business as you can? Ultimately, finding baseball hats that are produced in the United States or small business is really difficult to do. What was the evolution of finding who you were going to source those products from? What did it look like?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. And some of our caps are made or imported and then like branded and patched and everything through the small business. So I think just the trucker ones are this season so it's like 50-50, but they all come from the small businesses that are patching them or embroidering them. And so it was definitely tough because like you said, a lot of them are mass produced. And so I like to use Etsy because, it's like this glorious little search engine and you can find lots of people and kind of connect. But what sells me a lot of times is the people's story. I really like to hear the business's story and just kind of, well, how did you start? And it's probably not a great way to make decisions as long as the price is right. And then it kind of grabs my heart. That's kind of usually how I connect.
I think that plays into your brand. Like that's why people
Definitely.
buy your slouch hats versus someone else's slouch hats. It's a good business move because that's what you've built from the ground up. That's what your customers are expecting. So the more that you can expound upon that, I think it fits right in. You said you're getting into a bunch of stores again this fall. How did that process work? Are these all stores that are part of some sort of group that you are, I guess, deliver product to one place and then they send it out? Or did you get a hold of 67 different stores?
Yeah, when we did our first wholesale at the department store in 2018, it definitely opened my eyes to the opportunities. There's definitely pros and cons to getting into big stores on multiple, facets. Like you have to follow their branding and the process and the barcoding and different things like that. So when we got into this department store, I knew that I wanted to kind of expand into the wholesale aspect outside of the retail. And so I just kind of started asking locally and started doing some consignment. So I went to some baby boutiques and some adult shops or women's stores and said, hey, would you want to do almost like a pop-up? I'll drop these hats off for 2 to 3 weeks. You take a percentage, I'll take a percentage, and let's just see how that goes. So I started more with a kind of the consignment aspect to get my brand out there to retailers because we are handcrafted. Our wholesale pricing is more than a mass-produced hat. And so it does take like a specific boutique that is willing to kind of support you and kind of knows your story. And that's kind of how I started, was locally. And then I think people just kind of started asking, do you wholesale? And I'd reach out. I always have a 20-line list of these are my goal stores. And I'm going to reach out to them every single year. And I'm going to try to score one of those goal list stores. And so once we started the local aspect, I started just cold calling and reaching out. And then probably about 4 years ago or so, wholesale platforms kind of started to expand, like Abound, Fair, Bulletin, where this wholesale platform basically acts as the middleman. I post my collection on the website, and then retailers are on the wholesale platform. And if they search for a winter hat, I might pop up and they can purchase through the wholesale platform. So there's pros and cons to that aspect of the wholesale. You don't get the relationship as much because it's kind of just transactional. So you really have to kind of sell them on your content and your product descriptions and your story. And then, you kind of go from there. Sometimes they'll ask to go off the platform and just order directly from you. So it's kind of a combination of directly reaching out, cold calling, people saying, hey, you should get these hats in that shop, and then also the wholesale platform.
So you've built the business on this very much communal relationship based, we're doing good and here's a hat. When people come to your social media or to your website or to your Etsy shop, they get that story. There's a reason that they got to that. Now that things are going to be more available on a retail market, you're going to get a lot of people that are coming into whatever that store is, seeing the hat and knowing nothing about you. What have you done, or what are you planning to do with the branding or the packaging of the hats to get people to know the story, to buy in? Because like I said, you can buy a hat anywhere, but why are you buying a b.e.happe hat? It's because of the story behind the hat. How are you conveying that story to people in a retail market?
Yeah, it's definitely always ever changing. I think for me personally, each hat has like a hang tag on it that has kind of like our little story on it. So that's one aspect that if someone walked into the store, how are they going to know? I also give our retailers a little display thing that just kind of says this is our story, and so they can set them by the hats if they want to. And then the other aspect of it is just getting our retailers to know our story and to fall in love with what we're doing, because they are the ones that are kind of selling it. If someone walks up to them and says, something about the hat, they can kind of explain our story. So I try to provide them with as many resources as possible between pictures and product descriptions and just little bits of information that they can kind of educate themselves on for our product versus just making it like a transactional, hey, now you have our hats. You can do whatever you want with them. And I also, for me, I see the wholesale aspect of it as a relationship. And so if the business was to post something, let's say on social media, or tag me in a story, or I see that they're talking about my hat, I have zero issues with sharing that and telling people, hey, Illinois friends, this shop has our hats. I posted on my website in the busy season, where they're all located, and kind of reference that to people, especially as we near the holidays time and shipping is a bit unpredictable. I really push people to go into the stores because I don't like making customers mad when the product doesn't arrive in time for the holiday season. So I really do push kind of the retailers, go shop in person as we approach the holiday season, because shipping deadlines have just continued to cause some problems.
Tell me a little bit about this wish list of 20 stores that if you could get in there, it'd be awesome. My guess is that, as cool as it'd be to get into something like Target, it doesn't necessarily play into the handmade aspect of a hat like yours. There's no way that you could get enough product to get into a retail store like that. So what kind of stores are on this dream list for you?
Yeah, it has a lot to do. I know I continue to go back to it, but the person's story and why they opened the shop, what they're doing for their community, and the people who are their customers. My goal list has a lot to do with the business's story and the customers. For me, the biggest part of owning b.e.happe and having a product-based business is the journey that those hats take. So I want the store to have customers who are our, ideal clients and who are going to really make the most out of life, let's say, and take our products and do more and make memories and create certain things. So the dream list doesn't have to be this big old brand, like you said, department store or well-known business. To me, it's more about who's shopping there and what they're doing directly to impact the people around them.
Being full-time RVers, I can imagine that you're probably, with the intention of supporting local and going to different places, you're going into a lot of shops that actually are ideal shops to carry your hats and your apparel. Has traveling around in the RV played into that? Have you been able to do a lot of any in-person things with shop owners in places that you guys are just happening to be with your travels?
Yes, we have done a lot of pop-up shops and different things, sometimes with the retailers who already have our products in store. So maybe I will bring some products that are limited time or special yarn or pom-poms and do a little pop-up in those stores. And sometimes we'll just stop in and I'll meet the owner for the first time, like in person. So I definitely tried to, as we're on the road, connect with as many stores as possible. And for the dream shops or the shops that we walk into along our travels, I just, kind of get a feel for the store, and I'll just kind of make small talk with the person working. And I usually don't honestly bring up the fact that I own like a small business. I kind of want to just get a feel for the shop and who is running it. And then after the fact, I'll kind of reach out if I feel like it would be a good fit.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you left the physical therapy world to, the season of life with kids growing up with the intention of going back in the future. Has b.e.happe changed that intention?
Definitely. I still have my license. I still renew it every year and do my continuing education. But the world has changed also since I have stopped working in multiple ways. The healthcare system is different. Health insurance is different. And so I could definitely see at some point doing something in the realm of physical therapy. I don't know if it would ever be, being a rehab director again or practicing, but I still have a passion for it and I still want to help people in that way. I just don't know what that season will look like yet, but I'm definitely keeping it in an open mind, I guess, about it.
So then going forward, looking futuristic with b.e.happe, if you could define success, what does that look like for you?
Ooh, good question. Success to me will be knowing that we did everything possible in this season of life. So if that means giving back, showing my kids what hard work looks like and what dreaming looks like, and having them understand that your dreams can change with the seasons of life. The kids always kind of talk to me about, why don't you, work with people now when they hurt their leg, and why don't you practice anymore? And we're very open with them and communicate with them. And I just say that got us to where we were able to have children, to get to owning a home and different aspects of life that was meant for that season of life. And I accomplished my dreams in that season of life. And now my dream is to soak up every moment as possible with you guys. So for me with b.e.happe, it's just in trying to help others and make an impact. I would love to get more involved like in the community and just really trying to kind of put our positive energy and anything that we can do for others first.
Very cool. Very cool. Brooke, if folks are interested in checking out your hats and your apparel, where's the best place for them to go to do that?
You can shop at www.b.e.happe, Happe, designs.com, or we are on social media at b.e.happe. And yeah, definitely reach out if you ever have any questions.
Awesome. It was very cool to hear your story, hear why b.e.happe came about and why it continues to thrive. It's a very cool story, and I love how you're getting the community involved, you're getting the kids involved, and you're doing all the right things for all the right reasons, and it's showing. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, Brooke, to be on the RV Entrepreneur podcast with me, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Brooke. Again, I really enjoyed having the conversation with her. I got to meet her in person at an RV Content Creators Conference in Florida last winter, and it was really cool by the end of the week that all of her hats were bopping around and all the ladies in the campground, and they're really quite nice. If you haven't checked them out, I highly suggest that you head over to her website, check out the different hats that they offer. They're really cool. And I really like how the story matters to Brooke. She doesn't just put her hats into any old store. She goes and she tries to get to know the people who own the store, make sure that they're the kind of people that she wants representing her brand and her business. And I also really enjoy how, as much as it would be easier to outsource the shipping, she likes to have her hands on it, put the things together, put her touch on it before they get shipped out to the customers. And as the brand grows, that may not always be possible, but as she pointed out, allowing her kids to have hands-on in the process is a major life skill. And that's not something that everyone chooses to do, but allowing her kids to get involved in the business and having that first-hand experience of running a business, and especially running a product business from the road, is a really cool experience. Again, if you're interested in connecting with Brooke and b.e.happe, I'll have all the links to her social media and her website in the episode description. And that's all I have for today. Until next time, I'll see you on the road.